Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Car Complaint, and today's topic is about a kind of article I wrote about on the left and its lies. It's mostly talking about American Marxism and its hypocrisy. So, as always, let's get right into it, everybody. As we all know it, leftists plagues the West with their doctrine of false economy and cultural Marxism. It's not a secret thing when the mainstream media and big conglomerates openly support and fund these ideas and its groups. Ironically, these same leftists preach anti-materialism, anti-consumerism, and anti-capitalism. But yet are the biggest materialistic consumers, because they are nothing more than the pawn of the same bourgeoisie they claim to be against. You could as well just call them useful idiots, as they're in some form of Stockholm Syndrome when it comes to who they are truly against. They preach about being the ideology of the working class, but when they are presented with the actual working class, they dispout the derogatory names like redneck, white trash, and if you hold any type of conservative values, yes, a Nazi. It just shows the hypocrisy of the left, as it's obvious who they consider to be, quote-unquote, the working class. In their minds, unless you're a minority or part of the LGBTQ, you're a white supremacist, neo-Nazi, bigot who needs their life ruined. So, as I go into this side commentary, as I'm trying to extend the video a little bit longer and also give a little bit more explanation on what I meant in that paragraph, essentially, if you truly look at it, every single person who preaches this leftist, Marxist, communist, or whatever to the left, really, ideologies, they're most likely not actually a part of the working class. They're either someone who is working a $9 an hour job, who smokes weed all day, and who's a degenerate, as later on in the script I do talk about the characteristics of these leftists, but essentially what I meant by what they perceive to be the working class is that they don't view, your average Joe who works in carpentry, welding, warehouses, factories, and all that sorts of manual labor jobs, who actually are the real working class. They don't view those people as true working class in their eyes because, well, if you truly look at it, you're a Christian, most likely. Most people in the working class are Christians. They hold more conservative values. They're very masculine. And the thing is that what I'm trying to say is that these people don't view you and me and just the everyday average Joe as truly the working class. They view people who are, these skinny, malnourished, idiotic, baristas from Starbucks as the actual working class because they apply to their narrative. Unlike what we would do, we wouldn't apply to our narrative because of the fact that we are a little bit more right-wing on the average working class in America. And that's the problem. That's essentially what that part of the article was talking about. And so now as we go into the second one, it will talk a little bit about the personalities of it. So, as always, let's get into the next part. My personal experience with leftists, and I'm sure many can relate to, is that most of the people who consider themselves leftists are just part of a somewhat hive mind and only spouts off whatever the propaganda on TV tells them what to say and think. It's something that dwells amongst the masses, as most do not even have inner dialogue and are so quite unable to truly think for themselves and see beyond the manufactured false economy put in front of them. We have come to a point where it has become a sad sight seeing grown men become just brain slaves to political correctness, mass media, and the mammoth amount of liberal nihilism that is pushed among our people nowadays. There are some leftists who perceive themselves as quote-unquote intellectuals, and how wrong they are in that name. Most leftists I have come across are not of any intellectual sort, as they do not progress the knowledge of ideas and just look up sources written by the same mass media who spreads lies amongst the masses and believe this makes them an intellectual. A true intellectual is a philosopher, a writer, and a scholar. people who make their own ideas on topics and solve problems with individual thought. But yet, no modern leftist has achieved these levels of intellectualism because they have the incapability to look past their own biases. As it is common for people to organize their own collectives amongst ideas, forming biases and tribal-like thought, as humans are very social animals and are prone to do so. With quite obvious observation, American Marxists or American Socialists are most of the time social outcasts and some very mentally ill, as it makes sense why they would be this way. When you actively claim to be the champion of the people but want to destroy what makes up the people and its thoughts, you do tend to get ostracized by the collective. Marxism, especially of the anarchist type, wants the destruction of the family, religion, nationalism, race, and many things that define what is a people. They want to replace it with a classless, moneyless, stateless society, which is quoted from the book by Marx, the Communist Manifesto, explaining what is communism and what is Marxism. But let's be honest, folks, isn't based in realism, one bit. Marxism creates the idea of a utopian paradise that in reality will never be achieved because utopian ideas can never become true because of their lack of realism and logic to it. The ideology creates childlike mindsets in people that make resentments towards any sort of struggle or responsibility. Mix it with modern-day consumerism, and you get what is called a man-child. A middle-aged man who indulges in unhealthy lifestyles and has the mental capability of a child and can't move out of their mother's house because they can't mentally handle the responsibility of reality, so they crawl into their onesies, play video games all day, and drink soy milk. Truly pathetic it all is, honestly. So, in the second part of the commentary, that was the end of the article, and so now we're coming to the conclusion part. So essentially, this article just summarizes the American leftist, as it is honestly a mental disability in the sense that you cannot perceive the idea that you are being lied to by massive conglomerates, massive corporations, and it's essentially an idea that these people believe that they're the resistance, that they're the anti-state, and that they're going to bring forth a new society that's going to change everything. But the problem is that when the government, massive corporations, and almost every establishment organization is supporting what you say, you are not the resistance, you are the establishment. But I hope you liked the video, everybody, today. That is the end of it. I might be able to post next week, but essentially, like, subscribe, share, do whatever, help me get out, help people who I support get out, and just, as always, have a nice day.